Immediate program of action. Set into motion an attrition and professionalization program in the bureaucracy in the frame of a transition plan toward a shift to federalism. The transition platform and program of action process in the shift to federalism will require the human capital investments, meaning, it will rely initially on existing career service officials in the bureaucracy of various departments to undertake the step-by-step and arduous work to realize the adoption of federalism in our country. Their professionalism, integrity, historical experience, institutional memory and expertise will provide the nexus and ensure continuity of quality public service, from the old unitary way of doing things, to a federal setup. The quality of human capital of our government is the key to the effectual realization of the transition. Though human capital investments may take time to manifest, it actually makes sense for government who depend on accomplishments to be able to stay in office, to focus on tangible results. The department heads has to consciously focus their plan when the functions is already with the federated region. Their planning will be based on the needs of the federated region. For instance, if the federated region is an agricultural state, therefore, the capacity building of that federated region will center on agriculture. Federalism requires a basic level of administrative capacity across the constituent subnational units, and in most of the proposed models of federalism in the Philippines, these units do not even exist at this point. They would still need to be built up from scratch. This would be an enormous task. Consider, for example, if there were to be somewhere around 10 to 12 federal states. That means the Philippines would need to have 10 to 12 regional economic and development authorities, to supplement the current National Economic and Development Authority, 10 to 12 departments of budget and management, 10 to 12 departments of public works and highways, 10 to 12 departments of agriculture, etc. Do we have enough human capital at a highly technical level of governance that can be deployed to the different states? The Department of the Interior and local government will be more important than ever because of the critical tasks of implementing and enforcing federalism. As important as it is to delineate, on paper, the constitutional division of responsibilities between the national level, the federal level, and the local level, that is only the beginning of the story. It is something that would require a very effective Department of the Interior and local government, or however it will be called, in order to bring about the implementation and enforcement of a new federal system. Note that every and all levels of government at present have their respective bureaucracies, and it is not as if new layers will be added. On the contrary, they will just have to be simplified, re-engineered, reoriented, redirected, reformed and transformed in culture and practice to adapt to the new federal paradigm. All in all, that is the paradox of decentralization and federalism. We need to highlight the importance of effective state bureaucracies, which in this case would be the bureaucracies of the proposed federal states. In Transition Platform and Program of Action, it will tackle advocacy work even before substantive analytical work was made at the policy level. Foremost is to determine what will be the form and fiscal design of a federal government in the Philippine setting. This is to provide policymakers with inputs for crafting evidence-based legislation not just on the proposed shift to federalism but encompassing decentralization reforms in general. Multi-perspective approach would be the most powerful way of helping Filipinos stay abreast of the widening range of issues concerning federalism and the process of transition, so it will be adopted in our country.
You believe that any promise of nudging the stunted growth of the economy forward will only benefit the elite and not really the majority?
Well, that has been our experience for the past 70 years or 7 decades, or if you want to push it even more backwards, as Chief Justice Puno would always illustrate. We have been in this kind of system for more than 100 years. And unfortunately, any kind of economic reform or transformation that we would want to happen will not really have the desired outcome for as long as that kind of power structure is not rearranged or it is not stratified. So the proposition has been on our part that we have to break up the too much concentration of power or centralization if we want real economic development to happen. It is like one horse pulling the same cart as against 18 horses pulling the cart of the people and of the nation together. Okay, so all problems are now practically placed on the lap of the central power and of the president, the unitary system. And even if you have principles of full of the nation approach, full of the society approach, full of the government approach, that kind of an approach or principle is simply not being applied as a result, again, of the obtaining power structure.
But if the transformation, the desired outcome, didn't happen in those decades that you mentioned, how sure are you that even if you win, that the transformation will indeed happen now? You're going up against a Goliath here, and we're talking about the system that's been fortified by years and years of misuse and abuse. How can you change it? How will you even begin?
Mere belief in one's own personal capacity will not hack it. We are not of the illusion that if my candidate for president, Brother Faisal Mondato, and I will win, our victory alone will be sufficient for that. No. The kind of move that we intend to make is really to make it real, that there will be a whole of the nation, a whole of society, and a whole of government approach to it. And we will use the goodwill of our victory, of the fact that you have millions and millions of people behind you. You have to galvanize that into a force of change. You have to galvanize that into a power that can actually be utilized in order for this to happen. And that's why instead of just desired programs which turn out to be just promises and broken promises at that, we are propositioning a transition platform and program of government. This administration has started to prepare the blueprint when it called for a constitutional committee to review the 87th Constitution. He did not refer to the institutional power that has the authority to actually call for the convening of a convention or to constitute themselves into a constituent assembly in order to deliberate and finally bring this new constitution to the people for ratification. So it is a strategy that a new leadership needs to put in place. If it's only the president who will think that he can do it on his own, then he will not be able to do it. When you have a Congress composed of a lot of political dynasties and supported by economic interests, the examination of the Constitution that we wanted to change will show that it will hit their own interests. And it doesn't take rocket science to realize that there is that incompatibility between a program of political reform to an operating system that is going to be hit by such a program. And therefore, the realism of the current administration led by the president led to a compromise just to be able to accept the reality. Just as I heard earlier, he was saying, we'll just have to grapple the bull by the horn, accept the reality that prices of oil will go up and up and up. But you need innovative, out-of-the-box thinking if we are really motivated by our love for our people to find solutions for them. And the reason why we're saying love of God is love of country is because you can only have that if you draw the source of your power of love from the source of love, from the one who gave us this beautiful and blessed country and our beautiful and blessed people. It's time for us just to accept that we have that beautiful thing. Stop talking, we can't do this or we can't do that. You know, let's start thinking of what we can do and what we will be able to put in place to move the country forward.